Welcome to News with a View, Fat Cat production. This is going to be episode 9. This is our evening edition. I did a morning edition, and now we're going to do an evening edition. I'm your host, Johnny Costa, and Allison Cognito is finally here with us.
I might be fired.
Don't
This
wave.
might be my last episode, everyone.
Don't wave yet because we still have the slide up. There you go.
Don't fire me.
God, it's so hard to get good people. Um, uh, I said earlier that we would discuss the LA fire situation, and basically, what is being reported again by sources, and I think this was from the LA Times, so of course they can't be wrong because the LA Times. But what they're saying is the fire department assets, which is men and equipment, were not in pre-known located areas where fires have what were a threat. And usually they have done that in the past. They put equipment around, and they did in like the San Fernando region. They did post 9 units there, but only 5 out of 40 engines in the Los Angeles greater area were manned and ready for emergency action. No extra assets were placed in the Palisades area at all. And, all right, they haven't had fires there, or, I mean, it was a threat, but it was a lower threat. So the reasoning was by the Chief Crowley and her agency was to whatever limited resources we had, we placed accordingly. And of course, you have to keep people behind for regular 911 calls and house fires and anything else that happened. Chief Crowley was saying due to budget restrictions, she's going to lean on that because she has memos going back like a month saying, hey, you're cutting my budget. This might not be the time to cut the budget. So
There's documentation of all that?
absolutely, she has emails. There's memos
Okay.
sent back and forth. So she was complaining. They cut $7 million just from overtime pay, which if they would have had these people on standby, you have to pay people overtime. It's going to happen. They might have been in a position to react faster. Because once the fire started, they had to call people in, had to take those assets. Remember, everyone's fleeing, and they're trying to get in. So they're already hampered. By the time they got those units in place in like the Hollywood and some of those other areas, the fire was already out of control, and it was done. There's still, a lot of questioning on money that was spent years ago for all these other reservoirs, and the money was never utilized for what it was for. Now, if that was federal money that was given to them, yeah, they're going to have to explain that. And there's been a lot of talk about by the only one I saw, not a lot of talk, but Senator Tuberville from Alabama said that he wants to see some strings attached to any aid given them, but definitely make the money available. But yeah, you come hand in hand, you might have to say, hey, this is what you're going to do. And of course, there's been a lot of pushback on putting any strings on the money. I think, uh, you know, right now, uh, it, it's a bad time to discuss it, but it's going to have to be discussed. Bad practices, uh, unrealistic expectations, uh, you know, yeah, they get exposed, and they're going to have to be explained, and then rectified to the party that's giving you the money, to their satisfaction. I wouldn't be happy if they put it on a string and pulled it along and you got to chase it. That's not right either. The people that lost houses and homes and businesses and apartments and cars, you know, they're not going to really care where that money came from or what the strings are attached. They just want to get back to normal as quick as they could. Um, President Joe Biden announced that each victim is going to get a debit card of $770. It's a one-time thing, and again, that's a good thing. A lot of these people, they have their pair of socks, their shoes, their pants, and that's it. Underwear, and they need stuff. They just need stuff. You need toothbrushes, everything.
You said that was a one-time payment.
That's just a one-time, like
Right.
FEMA gives the little
Right,
debit
okay.
card. One time.
Okay. They're not going to get reloaded.
No.
Okay.
Well, you know what?
I don't know.
Who
yeah,
knows?
I,
Trump can go in there, when he takes over and says,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to reload those cards. Yeah, I'm going to take care of you like you've never been taken care of before. So we don't know. And, you
it's
don't
just
know.
something to get everyone who needs it. They're in
You
dire
get
straits
something.
right now. Right.
Yeah,
It's
you
just
get
enough
something.
to get
And
you something.
I don't think that's a family thing. I think that's per if you have 4 people in your family, you're going to get 4 of these cards. Yes. Is there going to be fraud? You sure? But like I said before in another podcast, if the fraud rate is 30%, but I ended up helping 70%, we'll figure it out. But you're not going to punish the 70% for the 30%.
Right.
And as I stated in the earlier podcast, of course, Whoopi Goldberg from The View, not News with a View. We try to make sense here. But she stated that if there are any strings attached to federal money, that California should withhold all federal money that they pay to the federal government. Now, in her defense, California is just one of 3 states that gives the federal government more money than the federal government gives them. And I said before, in the same breath, though, we have all these people, California and liberals and Democrats calling for a 1%er tax, a millionaire tax, a billionaire tax. So, $300,000 a year, you make more tax. Well, if California is doing so well that they can pay so much money and not need any, isn't that the same thing as a person making $1 billion who's, and then you're punishing them by taxing them differently than you taxed anyone else? So, hey, whoopee, what comes around goes around. And what goes around comes around. So, in the end, there will be strings, and I guarantee you'll be paying your taxes. So that's what's going on so far with the fires. A lot of finger pointing going on. A lot of who knows what's going on. And again, it's a fluid situation. It's still going on. I feel that tone the rhetoric down. Get those fires out. Get blankets around these people, and then we'll start finger pointing. Mm-hmm. And because what is finger
Definitely.
pointing going to do right now? It's going to do
Nothing.
nothing. And
People deserve an explanation
but
and an
bad
understanding
habits.
of mismanagement, as you call
And
it.
this was just And forget about it being Republican or Democrat. This was just bad government in California.
Oh, shocking.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
everyone has to realize too that California isn't flat. These things that need to be, the underbrush taken out. You're talking about hills and stuff. Very difficult to do. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's got to be done. Something has to be done, and fires can spread over miles.
yeah.
In burning ashes and wind. Uh, so if you say, well, you only had a 500-foot fire, cut here, you need to make it 1,000 feet. It might not do too much, but forest management and land management
That's
is essential, as well as water management and being prepared. They were at the highest level, and I'm not saying they got caught with their pants down, but it was like a Titanic situation. What's the chances? We'll take the risk. Well, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
yeah, but California has always had fires, wildfires. So
Yes.
it's like, how have they not learned? And you've gotten. I will never say you're never going to be immune to it. You can't. But how have they not gotten better at preventing, controlling? Like that's the management that I'm trying to understand. How did they fall so short?
Because
This has been going decades
it has
upon
been,
decades.
but the area keeps expanding, and the footprint of the area keeps going out further and further and further. This isn't about the FEMA came out and said this was a weather event, and and I said it's not weather.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
Yeah, I disagree with that. This was just bad government. This is bad planning.
They're just trying to cover it up. So
Well,
it's easy,
yeah,
it's easier to blame the weather.
Yeah, and there's also reasons too that the insurance companies would love for it to be weather because it falls under a different part of your home ownership. You might have a much higher deductibility because of weather. Oh, you have a $10,000 deductible now.
Yeah.
But if it was arson, you might have a zero deductible because that was a criminal thing. And so the insurance companies are going to be sitting here and waiting.
Yes.
For
They
an
have
answer.
to wait it out. They have to wait it out.
Yeah, and but in the meantime, this could take
Well,
years.
yeah,
Years.
that right.
So
On that note of saying waiting, yes.
yeah, oh, we'll pay. We
Right.
just didn't say when.
Right. It's not going to be fast.
Yeah, and like I said in today's earlier podcast, what I find interesting is there's a lot of talk of how they're going to rebuild. How there's not enough contractors and to build, but it's not going to be by contractors. You're going to have a a Pulte builder, Pulte Homes, who come in and Del Webb, and these people who build communities. They don't just don't put up one house; they put up 1,000 houses. They're probably at best at coming in there, assessing it, and building. The problem is that where people go, well, I want my home back. And I had a 4-bedroom Cape. But the person next to me had a 3-bedroom ranch. And, they want that back. That's where individual contractors come in. But if whole neighborhoods have been decimated and you're just putting people back in a home, you got 3 homes to pick from. If you had a 4-bedroom home, this is the model that you're going to get. If you had a 3-bedroom home, this is the model you're going to get.
Does California allow for, campers? I don't know what their their restrictions are. 'Cause I
What
know they're
California has done,
strict with certain things.
the governor has suspended the California Environmental Act, or I think it was the California Environmental Quality Act.
Okay.
And what that does is you no longer have to apply and wait 18 months for an environmental impact before you could put a spoon in the ground and dig a hole. So that's been suspended. The Mayor Bass of Los Angeles has stated that they're going to fight to do away with the permits and everything, and expedite it as best as they can, so that they can get people back in their homes again, businesses back up and running.
Okay, but that's for now. So someone builds a home, you dismiss all of that, all these acts, all these permits that you have, and then they build the home and everything. And then what are you going to reenact that? Are those people going to be left alone if they're not to code and permits?
Well,
they
they will be coded. It will be still will have to meet a building code. They're not going to
No, I know, but like they're higher standards because but what you're saying is if you're lessening that.
What they're doing
not,
is saying that the predetermination just for the filing application, you're not going to have to go through the hoops. And it usually took 18 months. Even to do a major renovation on a home there was 18 months of paperwork.
Outrageous.
Well, yeah, it's California. It's, California all has their little kingdoms and zoning laws.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. So, like,
It is a problem.
It's gonna, yes.
But again, I'm shocked that this hasn't come up before because they had fires. I mean, the last fire I think was the camp fires. That was what, 10 or 20 billion dollars, and 1,000 homes burned. So they've been through this before. This
right.
is
That's what I mean. They have.
Yeah.
Like they're not.
But this has been to the most extensive that has ever happened on record since for a city or state since the Civil War. Cities haven't burned like that since the Civil War. So we're going to be going on new ground here and trying to figure out the best way to do it. Like I said before, Trump has, with every disaster, there's an opportunity. And Trump has an opportunity to go in there and go to the people and go, I'm the president now. I'm going to come in, I'm going to help you with this, and we're going to fix some of these laws that were hampering you. And, I'm going to work with the local and the state government. And, we're going to get you back in homes. And, and if I was Trump, who is a builder, and he knows what it takes to get a project done. So you're not going to pull the wool over Trump's eyes this time.
I just feel like though
he is going to make this his mission. This is going to be his mission, and he's going to go there. And if I was Trump, I'd go there every month, and I just want to see what's going on.
Well, I can't. I want to see what the protests start happening when you start lifting lifting acts and doing things.
You're talking 10 years.
That's what I want to see because I know they're all going to come out of the woodwork.
You'll have a whole new government there. Believe me,
an endangered worm.
Well, and
on
that's
the shoreline.
Yes,
yes. That's what I'm saying. I can't wait to see all those.
Every
come
leaf
out
every leaf that falls is sacred.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see all the protesters come out for this stuff.
That will end. That will end. And not to say that it won't come back again because everything comes back. I think it's going to end. I think the people are going to say, hey, you want to live in the. You want to live in the woods like Grizzly Adams? Go ahead.
No, they voted on that. They allowed that stuff to continue to happen. So
yes, they have voted for it, but it also.
I mean, you had one extreme, and they were all okay with it.
They also never, and they should have, and a lot of people did. You got to realize that in this election, in California, Trump got like 42% of the California vote.
Trump's gonna.
So
Trump is gonna make California red.
All he needs to do is get 9 percentage points higher.
And no, this is an opportunity, just like you're
saying.
Yes,
there's an opportunity.
There's an opportunity,
but it should not be an opportunity where he comes in there, and he goes, well, now you're gonna dance for me. No, it shouldn't be that way. People got burned out of their homes. we help everyone else. We better do a damn good job here. And but red, blue, green, I don't
Yeah.
care.
We
I
gotta take care of the
don't
people.
care. We saw what a disaster FEMA was in North Carolina, and we've seen how this has worked. When
Katrina.
well, Katrina was a little
Katrina
bit
too.
different, but this was this is so much major. This is the biggest catastrophic event in our history, and certainly in our well, to me, in our lifetime since
Mm-hmm.
the Civil War. Apologize for the coughing. I'm not doing as bad as I was yesterday.
You know, you sound a little better.
Um, so it's only been a week. We got to get back there and figure out what's going on, and you know, I'm not saying to let the dust settle. These people need to. Where are we putting them all? Where are all these people being? I haven't seen much of that, and I realize you can't have news people in there getting in the way of first responders, and but at some point, the questions are going to be asked, and they're going to be very hardball questions. And they're already hardball questions for Californians asking their politicians in the news, asking, these uber liberals, how'd you let this happen?
Yeah.
This happened on your watch. How'd you let this happen? And and Mayor Bass said, "Hey, there's going to be plenty of time for the finger pointing and blame."
Mm-hmm.
And and it's just not the mayor. California, like I said before, the L.A. Their mayor isn't like the mayor of New York, where he has a lot of power. Here they have all compartmental little areas that handle a lot of that stuff. But in the end, it's going to have to be answered for. There's just no way it's going to stop and not happen. People are going to have to know, what's happened and what path we're going to take and how we're going to get there. The big question is going to be how long. Now, yes, they will bring in FEMA trailers and they'll set them
Yeah.
up. But even with that, you're going to need sewer hookups, water hookups, electric
Mm-hmm.
hookups. Right.
Generators.
This
Yeah,
isn't
it's
just,
just.
Jellystone National Park and you pull in there, and you hook up and yay. Right. Right. It's so. And what do you do with a family of 8 or 10? For a family of 3 or 4, you might be able to live in a little trailer for a while. But there's going to
There's going to
be
have to be some sort of housing,
there's going to have to be mental
stipend,
health
right.
officials
There has to
there,
be something.
medical. It's going to be a nightmare. We haven't even figured it out
No.
yet. Haven't even figured it out. The cost originally they said this might go as high as $50 billion. As of the other day, they were talking well maybe $300 billion.
Yeah.
I'm looking at $1 trillion, if not more, because we haven't even taken into account yet the loss of income, the loss of transactional tourism.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't even looked at any of that stuff yet. Uh, car dealerships, everything in that area got burned. I mean, 15 or 18,000 structures.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you say structures, in there are houses, there's barns, there's sheds, and there's mansions. Speaking about the mansions, it was very, very interesting because the people that went to the governor to ask about, are we going to be able to rebuild? I want that house that I had. And then were the people in the Palisades on the water that wanted their, 3.5 men houses there rebuilt. And he was the one that said, no, we're going to pull that all back. You'll be able to rebuild just like you had, or, because he knows those are Democratic loyalists and donors. He doesn't want to upset the apple cart. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, right now, I don't believe a word anyone's saying. Some of these reports, I do believe that the fire department was understaffed. They were ill prepared. So, I mean,
Listen, as time goes on, the truth will
yeah,
come
yeah.
out, and
Well,
we'll be talking
sometimes.
about that.
We're still asking about what happened to Kennedy in '63. So, I mean, yeah, the truth, very subjective. And, with time, you fades away. That's a horrible thing.
This is
All right.
pretty
Well,
significant.
I'm done with the fire right now.
Okay, moving on.
Moving
Next
on.
topic.
The Hill. We all know The Hill. If you go on any of these websites, The Hill is always quoted. Well, The Hill reported in a Gallup poll that a majority of Americans were dissatisfied with the Biden administration in their economic, um, their immigration, our
Really?
world standing, this crime, immigration, and the equity, disparities between people, and they were very unhappy, and not very let down, and they felt that we lost ground. They lost ground. Now, I find it interesting that 2.5 months ago, uh, or 3 months ago with Harris and Biden, I mean, the world was great. It never was a better economy. Everything was great. We didn't have a crime problem. And these were coming from mainstream media reporting, 90% from the left or left leaning. And anyone that had an ounce of brains knew that, hey, listen, all right, I won't blame Biden for all the problems, but my gas was $1.63, and now it's 3.30, 3.60, and then for a while it has come back down, but it's still floating. At least here in the Carolinas, between 2.80 and 2.70.
Mm-hmm.
But eggs are still $5 a dozen. Milk still expensive by the gallon. Forget about orange juice. Thing, if you can find them every once in a while, they'll have a sale. Tropicana 2 for $4. Well, how many Tropicanas can you buy and shove in your refrigerator? You don't drink that much orange juice. So most of the times you're paying $4 to $5
Yeah.
per. And everyone was being told that inflation was less than 2%. Yeah,
Anyone that goes food shopping would know that's not
yeah.
true.
I
So I mean, maybe some don't go food shopping. They have some personal shoppers for them, and they
yeah.
don't ever really know,
It
and they
just
just pay
doesn't
their
make sense.
bill.
I
I don't
don't.
know.
I don't understand how the DNC, Democratic National Committee, would think that people would buy that in mass. Now, they have shoved so much stuff down their people's throat, and they nod and they go, "Give me more, give me more, give me more." But I think at some point, the reality set in, and they're going, "Oh, look, we're fighting an awful lot of wars by proxy. We're spending a lot of money over here. I have 3 part-time jobs because no one will hire me full-time. So I got to work 3 of these part-time jobs to make what I would have made in a job and a half. I have no benefits. I got to go into the marketplace to find something, and I got a $7,000 deductible." And people are just look back and then go, "Yeah, no, no." Yeah. Harris, Biden, didn't matter. You know, Maybe the only person they could have run was Manchin from West Virginia, who would have given Trump a run for his money. But Joe Biden now coming out there and saying in an interview, I would have won. I could have beat Trump. Yeah, no, Joe, you couldn't.
He had his time,
Yeah, I mean,
and you didn't
thank
perform.
you.
You didn't perform well enough to gain
Thank
a
you
vote.
for your service. Thank you. But yeah,
Yeah.
and the people that kept telling the American voters, hey, Joe is wonderful. This guy, he's spot on. He's 80, big deal, but he is sharp and he is on target, and
Yeah.
anytime you saw him on the news, the most you'd see is a 15-second snippet. Because if you watched the whole 30 minutes of him talking, you'd go, oh my God,
Yeah.
someone get Grandpa off the stage.
That's what I said the
Yeah,
whole time. I
yeah.
was like, I'm sorry. He should never. They should have stopped that a long time ago. The family shouldn't have let that happen either. Because if that were you up there, I would actually intervene and be like, no, this cannot go on. Because when you're not of sound mind anymore, and you're trying to lead this country, we all saw it. We couldn't do anything about it, and if we did, we were told, "Oh no, you know what you're talking about. No, he's fine. Look. And the polls say he's look.
Yeah.
Everyone still believes, what's
Yeah.
coming out of his mouth, which you couldn't even understand half the time. Sorry, but
She yells at me when I drive.
but I felt bad. There was a part of me that
Everyone
Right.
sits back and
goes,
oh my
oh
God.
my, right. If
Oh
that
my
was
God.
my father, I'd be
Yeah.
embarrassed for you, and ashamed of my family and the people around him that continued to push him out on that stage, to continue to
Yeah.
just, promote him when he was not of sound mind
And
anymore.
he was never, it wasn't like, well, this came on suddenly. We knew 2 years
No.
ago
Yeah.
that, hey, Joe's having problems. And, if he doesn't run again, hey, that's all right. We'll figure it out.
Ask
They'll
a
keep him
family.
going.
Ask a family who went through,
Yeah.
whether it's dementia or
They
Alzheimer's.
knew. They
Right,
knew.
you could
They
just tell
knew.
there were certain signs and certain things
Yeah.
in his,
I mean,
just how he was acting, and just you knew something was wrong.
yeah, and even
everyone
the people
kind of
around
ignored
him,
it, and they just
now
tried
the
to hush
people,
us.
now all the aides are coming out, and all these other people. Yeah, he was pretty bad at the end.
Oh, but then why
But,
did you?
Yeah.
Why
And-
did you say, "Oh no, he's
and
totally
he-
good"? But
he
Trump
could have been-
Trump was perfectly healthy during his presidency, but all they wanted to do was say how he wasn't.
Yeah, but again, here was the real problem, is that they knew that he wasn't going to be able to fill his office, so Harris would have been in there, and no one wanted Harris. And Harris couldn't gain the support to
couldn't-
even
1%.
do a primary. She couldn't even do it. She got up before the primaries that time.
Yeah.
And because she just didn't have the following. So the Hill coming out with all this, and and the media, coming out and saying, "What a wonderful job, Joe! Joe is wonderful." That they had him on The View, they had him on a couple of shows where they threw him softball questions, didn't even ask him hard questions. I would have been shocked. Joe, what day is it? Just out of left field. Huh?
You.
Yeah, it's ice cream day. So no one asked him a hard question. And when he got on the stage with Trump, the first debate, and yes, he had traveled overseas, he'd done everything, but that's what a president does.
Yeah.
And I would have even understood if they would have come out and said, "Hey, listen, we're going to push the debate back a week, just to let, we got so much going on, we just can't prep him. He can't do it." And, I don't know if Trump would have done it. He would have gone, I'm sure he would have used it to his advantage, when doesn't he? Or when doesn't an opponent not
Right, why
take
should he not,
advantage?
or he or she not?
But
Right.
they sent him in there, and that was like sending him into the Roman Colosseum, and there's lions there. What did you think was going to happen? And everyone's yeah, and then all of a sudden, didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Helen Keller could have seen this coming. So I mean, just terrible. And then the way they handled it on a Sunday afternoon, we get an unsigned letter, a PDF file, not even on presidential not even like,
Yeah.
stationary.
Where's the presidential stationary?
Raggedy Ann coming on the White House to say, Joe Biden is pulling out of the race. He's ill. He's not feeling good. He just feels he can't do it. But nothing, and we were left in limbo. And then he goes, "Well, I'll tell you next week what's going on." And everyone is like, "Well, what do you mean you're going to tell us next week?" You just put the hook around the guy, pulled him off the stage, and you got nothing.
Oh, but
And then they said
everyone else was fine with that.
then they go, well, he'll resign. He'll leave the race as long as they anoint Harris. Well, who voted for Harris? They had a convention, and they didn't put anyone else up, and she was the anointed one. And people are, going, and then, when she sits there and runs around and they're going around collecting, $1.8 billion in donations, that was just in her time. Forget about the money the war chest already had for Biden.
Mm-hmm.
And turn around and she's out that Sunday in California saying, Joe's going to run. We got, he's fine. Boom. And by that evening, it's over. And in the meantime, she collected, 70 or 80 million bucks. Segues into the Jack Smith. They were going to get Trump on fraud charges. That's what he said. We were going to convict him on fraud. You know what the biggest fraud was? Democrats who took your primary vote and go, no, doesn't count. Doesn't count. We're going, Joe's out of the race, and he stepped down on his own accord. I'm sure Trump will find the claw marks of them dragging him,
Video footage.
on the desk. Going, I don't want to go.
I want the video footage.
I don't want to go. No, don't make me go. But you see this, and you go. You talk about the biggest fraud. Trump going and saying, hey, they stole the election. I had more votes than that. I know. These showed up. All right. He could be wrong. He could be wrong. He could even lie. That's not fraud. That's called free speech. And you're going to get him because they said, well, he was inciting people. And he tried to stop the vice president. And did he? And guess what? There was no fraud. There was fraud. And all Trump would have had to do is prove one case of fraud. And guess what? Do you know how many cases of fraud were out there with the election? People voting that shouldn't have. This one did this, or this happened over here. The ballots didn't go out right. Well, guess what? That's all he would need to do. Because he didn't have to prove. He just had to prove fraud. And just like you can't be a little pregnant, you are or you aren't. And that's all he would have needed to do. And he didn't even have to prove, he just had to demonstrate it. And this whole case, on the January 6th, riots and everything else, where Jack Smith, even in his notes, said there wasn't, that Trump did not willfully go out there and tell people to do this. Yet, that's all we heard from the newscasters and from people on the Hill. And none of that was substantiated in that report. Now, that report should never have been out because Jack Smith was not appointed correctly, and he was not under. And I still say, if this goes back up to the Supreme Court, which it will not, because it will just go away. The last day of Trump's day in office, he'll pardon himself, or he'll step down. Vance will become president for 2 weeks, and he'll pardon Trump, and that will be it. And this was all for nothing. This was done to stop Trump from running for office. Trying to say he did sedition and insurrection. Number one, if you're already the king, you can't overthrow yourself. So it doesn't work that way. It was just, and again, as I said the 14th Amendment. Please learn the 14th Amendment and what all the articles mean, and then look at why they were there and when they were there. And even Smith said some of these laws that they were trying to pin him on were 100 years old, never used, and outdated. And he would not be able to reach that bar. But fraud, he said you could get him for fraud, and you get anyone for fraud. But it would never last because all Trump would have to do is just prove one case. That's fraud. And they go, well, you were saying it was everywhere. I said fraud. Now, if I found one over there, maybe there's 10 over there. And if there's 10 over there, there's 1,000 over there. So, but you wouldn't let me look at it the way I wanted it looked at. He was barred from that, even though in I think Arizona they allowed his people in, and I think in Michigan they allowed his people in. But it was so haphazardly done, and they were just beating him up. So, I think the American public realized that this was all gaslighting by the Democrats, and they had enough of it. And they go, you got to go.
Yeah, but it's like.
And the biggest fraud was perpetrated by the Democrats against the American voters.
Mm-hmm. We're the ones that suffered from that. It's not even that because you don't like Trump, and for whatever reasons you don't like Trump, which have all been debunked, but we suffered from that.
It not only did we suffer, but the world suffered. I mean, just the decision making and the policy making of the Biden administration was just absolutely absurd. Absurd. Ridiculous. It made absolutely no sense. Our friends, our allies looked at us like, you're not for real, right? And our enemies laughed at us. And he thought he was going to threaten Putin. And Putin looked at him and goes, hey, you know what? Yeah. Yeah. You're not going to get into a toe-to-toe fight with me over the Ukraine. And I'm taking the Ukraine back. And yes, Putin attacked the Ukraine. But it was all because, and there's lots of becauses, but the main reason was, and his thing was, you're going to be putting offensive weapons if you make the Ukraine a NATO country. You're going to be putting offensive weapons into my ribs, and we're not going to stand for that. There was a way out of that. But Biden, who is very hard-headed, was nope. I could be just as hard as him. Putin doesn't have elections like we have elections. His opponents fall out of basement windows and die. That doesn't happen here. Well, they tried it with Trump, I think, but so
Well,
so I don't know. We'll find that out later too.
Bulletproof, baby.
But we got to look at it. Who you're dealing with. You're dealing with a China. You're dealing with a North Korea. You're dealing with Arab nations. This guy who had 50 years of service. Absolutely terrible. Jimmy Carter I could forgive because he did not have 50 years of service. And he was naive. And I could get over that. And Biden? Yeah. There's, I just want Trump to expose everything. If there's anything to expose. If Trump cannot expose what he said he was going to expose, and it's not there, like I said, I'll be the first one to call him a liar. I'll be the first one, on these things, and going out and going. It's not that I don't support him. It's just you lied. you lied. And if you lied, what was your agenda to lie? And I don't think that's the case, but
No.
that would be the normal course that a normal person would think. So I can get there to you people that say, Trump is this and Trump is that. Well, we don't know that yet. Let's see what happens. Trump won. It was not a landslide, but he won, and he took the popular vote with him. So,
Says a lot.
yeah, and
Speaks volumes.
and like I said in today's podcast, the left still going out there going, well, America is stupid. Yeah, you might want to
Yeah.
start pulling back on that nonsense, because
You already called us enough names. After a while, I'm. Mm-mm. You don't get to say
I'll
say
do
that too much longer.
my Forrest Gump. Mama says stupid is or stupid does. So you better stop that. And there are a lot of smart people that never went to college, and there's a lot of stupid people that are holding degrees. And I would keep that scale at about 50%. So, America and the Democrats better wake up. I don't think you're going to win the midterms unless Trump does something horrible or. And if the Republicans take the midterms from you to boot, well, then I'm going to tell you right now, you're finished for the next, 10 years from that point. And, you better rebrand yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't like just one party in power. I don't like that. It goes against our democracy. It's what our democracy says could happen. But if you start rubber stamping stuff, as I said before, that's when bad things can happen. I'm not saying they will happen with a rubber stamp Congress or a rubber stamp Senate, which now I segue in to the confirmation hearings in the Senate. We've had some people going in there and kind of having a rough time, but all in all, the whole Senate thing is to give everyone their 15 minutes of kick time. The Democrats get their kick time against Trump's people. So, I'm fine with that. They get to ask horrible questions. If you ever heard Senator Kennedy, from Louisiana, get up there and ask questions, boy, I'd hate to be in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
I would hate to be in front of him. Even if I had nothing.
I'd be sweating bullets.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh my God, he's got my 3rd grade report card.
Oh God. Yeah. I'd be like, oh.
Oh. Mrs. LaPlaque, you promised me you wouldn't take that and give that to anyone.
Right.
So,
don't make me relive my past.
My God, your school records do follow you.
Yeah.
It can get very nerve-rattling. Today, the senator from Hawaii, Mazie Hirano, was asking Pete Hegswith or whatever his, I can't even pronounce his name half the time. I said it sounds like someone from Pete Hegseth. Sounds like like I said, he should be one of the professors at Hogsworth. Yeah, with
a little wand up there.
Yeah, really. Go away, us Democratus. But and they were asking him about, and they had the right to do it. I mean, your life is an open book at that point, and you have to be prepared for every question that comes up on everything you've done. And so, of course, his 2017 incident where the police investigated a complaint against him of sexual matter, and didn't find anything. And the case, there was no case. There was nothing happened, but he did sign an NDA with the alleged complainant. Now, again, people go, well, why would you sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, if you didn't do anything? There's lots of reasons why people will sign an NDA in those type of situations. One, it ends it.
Yes, I was about to
And
say
you're
that's-
paying $50,000 a year
Right.
to a lawyer for the next 10 years, and I can pay $70,000. I have
Right.
no idea what the money was.
right, but
But
it ends it.
And it ends it,
Yep.
and it's done. And, you know, so he said, hey, I was clear to that. Nothing happened. I moved on. You know, nothing happened. And Harino turns around and says, really, there was nothing else? And he goes, how about the child you had out of wedlock? You know, and that kind of angered me. Because I guess maybe if he had his girlfriend or whoever abort the baby, he would have been a hero to her. But because they had the baby, that somehow is in a criminal act or whatever she was alluding to. So that kind of annoyed me. And he got through it. He walked his way through it, and you know, I was fine with it. And again, you know, he wasn't a politician when all this was going on. He was a Fox News host.
Correct.
Now, I'm not crazy about the pick for it. And, you know, but he did serve in the military, and he served honorably, and he was, you know, he got dust on his boots. He was there. So, all right, you know. Obama, when he got elected, said, sometimes you got to shake things up. You got to shake up the establishment. Well, there you go. He's just shaking up the establishment. So he took a beating, you know, but he got through it. And at the end of the day, we got 53 votes. The other team has 47. I'm sure that if they all go 47 to 53, but I'm going to be certain that there's going to be a couple coming our way. We're going to vote all red, and there'll be a couple. If not, we still win it. And, you know, they get to go in and go, he only won because they had the vote. Well, yeah, that's the way it goes. Good luck. See you next year.
Did you see Mullen speak? Did you watch his?
Well, I was watching Pam Bundy.
Okay.
Who's going to be the pick for the Attorney General. And again, Hirano from Hawaii got on her case, and then asked her, who won the 2020 election?
Yeah, I was like, oh god.
And she said, well, President Biden is the president. Joe Biden is the president. And she goes, but you can't say he won. And it was like, well, how else would he become president? You accusing him of insurrection? So, I mean, it was, and it shows me what a lousy lawyer, if she was a lawyer, I don't even know if she was a lawyer, I don't know what she was, but, I mean, and Bondi, to her credit, did not just go after her and bite her. She got a little testy. And she told some of the other senators that you're not going to bully me. If you think you're going to bully me, it's not happening. So, I mean,
she can say that. She's got the right to say that. Yeah. I mean, still might happen, but you can say it.
And again, 53 to 47. She's getting in there. Everyone on Trump's list, with the exception of one. And well, I actually have three stars on people that I got a question. One is Linda McCone for the Department of Education Secretary, Department of Education. She managed the wrestling. That was her husband. You know,
Yeah.
let's get ready to rumble.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know at what experience she can bring in there. I don't know much about her other than she managed $1 billion corporation and survived. The other one is Chris Wright, who is a oil executive who owns a fracking company as the Department of the Energy Secretary. I think he's going to have a fight. Um, and Russ Voigt, who held an office, but he was also part of the Project 2025. And I think that's going to get a look at.
Mm.
And I think even some of the Republicans are a little leery of putting their fingerprints on that. So I see that being a problem. Um, like Scott Turner, who was a former football player, and he sat on the uh, uh, um, he sat on the Trump administration when Trump was president,
Right.
and for housing and urban development, smart guy, smart guy. Nothing wrong with that pick. Um,
They've got a strategy, that's for sure.
they
But
they have. RFK Jr. is going to come under the hammer by both Democrats and Republicans.
yes.
I think in the end he'll get it. But I don't know if he'll get all the Republicans. I know he'll get some Democrats. Because, and uber conservative, but I only listen to what I want to listen to. I went to Charleston twice to hear Robert Kennedy speak. And got to speak with him. And I got about 80% of what he was saying.
You were on board with?
Yeah, it makes sense. You could go there. Let me just say that. You can go there. And then there was 20% of the stuff where it was like, you're backing out of the room and you don't want to not make eye contact. You're backing out and okay. Well, that became uncomfortable quick. So, Health and Human Services, oh, look who we have sitting in there now. Some guy that dresses up like, Edgar Winter. So I mean, sorry, Edgar Winter, I do like you, but just strange people. We have a lot of strange people in the government that you'd go, all right, listen, you want to be strange, that's good, that's fine, you be strange. I don't want you telling me what to do. So and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Some of that stuff I do find strange. It's your right to be strange. Absolutely, your right to be strange. And if you're
Did
not
they do
hurting
the
anyone,
job? Did they do the job well?
no,
Did
she
they
was
manage
terrible,
it well?
or
Then
he was terrible. I don't know what you want. I don't know what pronoun to use.
yeah,
They
have a name.
Yeah.
I'll just call you by your name. I don't need to use a pronoun.
Yeah. Well, there's some
You have a
names
name.
I'll use, but this is going to be an interesting showdown, and I think that's just going to be the opening act for what's going to be the next 4 years. Um, in any administration, people come and go. So, and with Trump, they come and go a little bit quicker because he won't stand for a second chance. And this time around, he's looking at loyalty. He wants loyalty. And also you get the job done.
Oh yeah.
Because now he's got to carry Vance. If Trump wants a real legacy other than winning, this election, he's going to have to sit back and be a politician. And I've said before that in his first election, he tried to run the country like a business, and it's hardly a business. And he can't do that. It just will not work. It doesn't fit the model. Square peg in a round hole. It's just not going to fit. So, that's what's going on there. I got a lot of other things coming up that with all this coming in there. Ratcliffe, who's going to be in charge of the CIA. A lot of people like him. I think he's going to be an easy push. But I think the energy one is going to be a problem. And of course, Marco Rubio for Secretary of State. He probably got the warmest welcome from the senators because he was a senator,
Right.
is a senator, and they were. I think he will be the easiest of the pick. Yeah, I'm a little surprised that Susie Wills, who was Trump's campaign manager, is now going to be chief of staff. All right, I can get there. I can get there. She's smart, and obviously, Trump explicitly trusts her.
Yeah, I
And
think
she
she
has
can
proved
do
her
the job.
loyalty. And
Yeah,
she's proved
she's
her
more than
loyalty.
capable, I think,
Right.
of doing the job. I don't.
I was surprised that he tapped her for that, and well, you know, um, you know what, the one person I did not look at yet was who's going to be the new press secretary, and I thought Jean, whatever, blah blah blah. Very, listen, she's a smart girl, smart woman, used girl, but smart woman, um, very composed. She held up great against Peter Ducey, and all that
Peter
stuff.
Ducey?
Yeah, Ducey, yeah, and he held up. She held up good with that because he could be some freaking pain in the ass. You think Jim Acosta was a problem for Trump? Ducey was a royal pain in the ass, and would just throw stuff up there to, tilt her, and she didn't get tilted most of the time.
No, yeah, she.
Yeah, she was good. I'd like to see, she'll end up teaching in some college somewhere, but and good luck to her. Good
Yeah,
luck
absolutely.
to her. The transportation secretary, what is Duffy, Scott Duffy, Sean Duffy, and he was a Fox News person,
Yes.
and he's going to be Secretary of Transportation. But again, when was the last time we heard from Pete Buttigieg? When?
I just think he's gonna do what he normally does. He'll fill the positions, and then if you're not performing, you're not up to par, he'll offload him and bring someone else new in. It's kind of it's the Trump way.
Most of the
we
people
saw
that
that
he's
the first
picking
presidency.
are former U.S. representatives or former senators, and so he's bringing a lot of experience
He
in.
is, but I think if he puts them on a pedestal. There's very high expectations,
Well,
and once they don't perform to those expectations of his, that's what he
Yeah,
does.
then he does, right?
Right.
He does.
He does. It's the Trump way.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what happens.
Hey, you do it my way, you don't do it at all.
You're fired.
Yeah, you're right, really. You're fired.
fired.
You're fired. So, I mean, there's a lot going on in the news. Going to report a lot more. I did have something on my mind that I did want to say, and I kind of trailed off after hearing myself, speak, and got my.
You got Biden brain.
Yeah, I'm really. Believe me, I'm fighting burning.
Biden brain.
Yeah,
It's happening.
yeah, it's a, put a little laugh track in here. Yeah, I got my little laugh track in there, and I got, some of my other things. I wish I had the applause here, so we can hear people clapping down to us. You can't hear it now, but
No, I can't.
Yeah, yeah. All my planning. This is CBS all over again. Oh, you need 2 headphones. Well, maybe you guys could share one. I don't know. And so I got to put the headphones in for that. But I do have a little sound machine over here that puts in little laugh tracks and things like that I don't have to hit my computer and go.
Am I coming in clear? here.
Yeah, right. You know.
Can you hear me? Am I
You
coming
know,
in
my
clear?
little Homer clips. Don't.
Don't.
You know. Peter, you're a very stupid man.
Peter.
So, but we're going to. I've been trying to do one of these podcasts every day, and I know you call podcasts and it's a vlog, well, whatever it is. I don't care what it is. You can call it what it is, you know. But I try to do one, and I try to keep it topical. Like I said, uh, Alice wanted me to do some local type
Yeah.
stuff too, and
All right.
you
Well,
know.
we can
Yeah,
revisit it. We can revisit
yeah,
it.
yeah, like I said, Mailman bites dog. You know? So yeah, you know,
Couple of shingles are falling off the
yeah,
roof.
really,
But,
the news around here, you know,
on Bend Way.
yeah, right, yeah, you know, a tree fell today.
HOA nonsense.
Yeah. So I mean, the news here is not, you know, what I call earth shattering, and you know, again, though I'm surprised a lot of guys that I do know and I play cards with, and I'm now not the youngest guy there. There's one guy that is not over 70 yet, so
Oh,
he became the young guy,
there you go.
and but they're all computer savvy. They all go on the computer. They all do stuff. You know, they all find stuff, and you know, so I was pretty impressed. You know.
They live under a rock. I mean,
No, but I mean, a lot of
I
people.
think a
you know,
lot of them are competent. They can go on the internet, use
you
their
haven't,
phones.
You haven't played cards with them, believe me. You know
I
what
mean-
three of a kind is, right? You know? And it's not what you see when you don't have your glasses on. You know, so it's sometimes it does. You know.
How do you know what my vision was the other night?
Yeah, really. You know, and we had a place down near us that was a memory facility for people that had you know, memory problems. I used to tell this one guy, I go, as soon as we're done playing this hand, I'm taking you over there. Taking you right over there. You're scaring me. Yeah.
Hey, it's gonna happen. So it's gonna happen to all of us. So
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's already happening.
Yeah.
You saw what I went through before, just preparing for this. Where's my notes? Your notes are here, Dad. I go, oh no, that's from a week ago.
I was like, oh, okay.
All right, I sit down and I go, hold on, I need my headphones.
Yeah, I didn't know. I was like, I know. Were you gonna start on time tonight?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hold it, I have to do this. Oh, stupid computer.
Yeah, it was. It was like, ooh.
And I'm like,
it's just really
yeah,
happening.
yeah, and I didn't even do my other opening. You know, I used this opening, and hold it, we're gonna
And
stop that
podcast
because that was a overlay of a previous program because I couldn't get my font working. It's the nightmare that I deal with, and what I am going to do is put it all on a macro. The switcher allows me to do macros, so I can just do opening sets and go through. But I'm a very lazy man, and I'm still learning this. I should have bought this switcher like 3 months ago and just went through it.
We're
But
still learning. So
yeah, I mean, believe me, my editing skills are like, you know.
thank God you know how to do it because
Yeah.
you know, I should be. You know, I'm younger. I should be more tech savvy, but
Yeah, well, yeah.
not in that arena.
And that's what I said about the website. It's up, but I'm going to probably ask my nephew, who's a Word,
Yeah.
you know, and he knows all about WordPress, and this is what I wanted to do. It just needs to be one page, and this and this and this, and then eventually, I won't go to a YouTube, or I won't go on Facebook, which we're on Facebook. If you go to John A. Costa, you can see some of my stuff. And we're getting some viewers, and again, I'm not pushing this yet. This is not being pushed out the door,
Right.
and I'm not, you know, sending links all over the place and doing that. Probably in the next month, I will start getting a little bit better. We are, you know, like I said, we got 9 episodes in here, and I'm going by episodes. There's an introductory, 22-minute introductory on what we're about, and I try to be as fair as possible. But sometimes, common sense just has to rule the day, and you try to use common sense. What would the average person think? What would and not some spiritual person, or well, everyone should have this. Yeah, I get it. I get it. If this was a perfect world, but it's not, and it's not a perfect world we live in. So we have to make exceptions and carve outs, and you got to have a moral compass that kind of guides you through. And if we don't have the moral compass, and we just throw it off to the side, well, some other countries that doesn't have ethics or moral compass we'll have to deal with, and then what do we do? So we just can't go just because you want to do this. That's all right. That's all right for you to do. We have to have a moral compass.
Ooh, some will disagree with you on that.
Well,
Yeah.
listen, and my moral compass doesn't have to be your moral compass, but I do have, a pain threshold level to say, yeah, okay, you know what, no bueno, that's no good. We're not doing that, and yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I do, and this, like I said, after listening to myself for an hour of all the greatness that is me. I mean, God, if they only listened to me, what a wonderful world this would be.
Yeah.
I have, and I'll say this without any humility. I'm sure Jesus is looking down and going, I created that. Me.
Yeah, he's
me.
having a proud moment.
Yeah. Take that, Dad. Look what I did.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Hey, I'm assuming God has to have a sense of humor.
Oh, I hope
praying,
so.
I'm praying it on. Other than forgiveness, if I find out that I don't know who told you I forgive everything. You just have to say I'm sorry, and believe in me. I don't know who told you that. They were wrong. Yeah.
You better have a sense of humor.
Yeah. There's lots of rooms available in heaven. Hell's going to be a little crowded, but
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, well,
I don't know where I'm going to end up. So, yeah, whatever.
I do.
Of course you
Because
do.
I know
Of
everything.
course you do. Yeah.
If only people would listen to me. It's all I ask. I thought I was wrong once, but I was mistaken.
This is how he always is. All day.
Yeah.
24/7.
I got my first eBay thing from the California fires. Right here. I know. What? Too soon? Too soon? Yeah, real melted bottle.
Oh God.
All right.
Nah,
all right.
it is. That's funny.
Hello.
It's
I didn't
funny.
start the freaking fires.
No, you didn't. I mean,
So, and I feel sorry for them, and I make your donations, but make sure you make your donations to a known charity.
yes.
Not hello, this is Billy, who's asking you for a contribution.
And don't get scammed.
Yeah, and there's a lot of scammers out there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to send money, send it to P.O. Box 168 in Merle Zinley.
Well, people will. That's
No,
the sad part.
I don't
No,
have-
no, no.
I
But
don't-
like people will. They'll fall for the scam calls and texts and stuff, and it's
Well, hold it.
it infuriates me.
That nice prince from
Oh my
Nigeria?
God. Please. Really? You're a prince and you're calling me? That shit's pretty bad if you're calling me.
Or the woman that lost 700,000 pounds. This is in Europe because she thought she was helping.
Was that a real?
Helping Brad Pitt because Brad Pitt had
Honey,
some type of
Come
cancer.
on.
And
It's Hollywood. they gotta, It's Hollywood. It's Brad Pitt. Why would you give them your money like that? I mean, come on.
I want to know that these
I
people,
don't even know. I don't know if I believe that story.
Yeah, no, well,
It's almost
it's too good
unbelievable.
to be true. It's too good to be
Like,
true.
no.
But I always say, what do you wake up in the morning and go, time to scam people?
yes, they do. Yes,
9
they do.
o'clock. It's scamming time.
Yep.
How do they do it? And I guess they just keep cranking out the calls. And if they get one a day,
Yeah, you get one bite. One or,
you know,
one or two bites.
and these, well, I never met them, but they sent a picture of them holding the date and waving to me, and it looked like,
I just, it's 2025. I would think by now you'd know better. You would just stop and,
yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean? And think about, like, wait a minute, why would that person be called? What telethon would Brad Pitt be holding?
Now, now, to be
for
fair,
him?
when Gwyneth Paltrow called me,
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, right.
Yeah, well then, know you're dreaming, or you're being scammed.
My Ambien.
Yeah, it's an Ambien call.
It's an Ambien call.
Oh, it's legit. Gwyneth Paltrow. Oh gosh.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, Dad. But no, it's sad. It's
Well, I
sad
could've
that
said
someone
Brooke
could still be
Shields.
scammed. No. Listen, no average Joes. We're average Joes. No one
I'm
in
too
Hollywood is calling an average Joe asking for money. And if they called me and asked, I'd be like, well, shit. How about you send me money? You get me a plane ticket. I'll come and meet you. Because the only way that's happening is I better be right there, and it's hand to hand.
I mean, we're going a little off topic. Did you read about the three brothers in Miami? They were part of remember the two brothers that used to do the real estate thing in New York City and all the high-end apartments and sales?
No.
Well, the three of them were arrested for drugging girls and like 42 women. And then, doing
like
things.
over the course of like years?
Oh, no, a day, hon. They were...
Oh.
No.
I was like, oh my God.
No.
Sad and gullible.
Oh. Whatever they're taking, I want two of.
So they just got caught.
Yeah.
Now.
They didn't get caught. They've been in custody for a while. The complaints went out. And you start reading the story about them, and it's like, you gotta be kidding. I mean, it made Epstein, look like a choir boy. If this story is true and the allegations are true, and
right.
remember, they're charged. They haven't been found guilty.
They're not guilty. They're still innocent.
No. They're assumed and presumed innocent in the eyes of the court. Doesn't mean you can't be held. It's like, so they're holding them.
Yeah.
Because
but they're not, you can't say that they're guilty of these
No,
things.
but they're presumed innocent. A lot of people go, well, I'm innocent until proven guilty. No, you're not.
Fair. Presumed.
The presumption is we're not going to just outright say you're guilty.
Well, that's what we like to do.
Yeah. Well,
America has now leaned that way of,
well, we have rights.
you're
Follow
guilty until
the
proven
law.
innocent.
Well, yes, but you're not. In reality, and I've said this on another podcast, you don't have to do a damn thing at your trial. You don't have to say a word.
Yeah.
It's up to the government to prove you're guilty. You don't have to prove your innocence.
Yep. But I guess I feel like that's changed, when you see a lot of the coverage and stuff on cases and trials and stuff like that, they'll make comments like that. They never said anything. They refused to go to the stand. They refused to.
Well, the Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment was always,
right. They have that right to not.
Yeah. Well, they don't have the right to not. People don't exercise
they have the right to not speak.
And people don't. And that's what jams people up. But when you call the police, it might be a good deal. When the police come to you and knock on your door, hey, I hear you. And I mean, unless they're saying, have you seen this child? Something like that. And but if they come and hey, there was a crime, we'd like to ask you a couple of questions. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll answer those questions for you. I'll talk to you about it, but with a lawyer. So I'm going like this because my granddaughter's at the door here and we're ready to say goodnight. Yeah. So I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you, Alice Incognito.
Good night, everybody.
And as I always do is my trademark now, whenever I go away, I like to say good night as I fade to black.